let me introduce formally for Amarish. Amarish is the Director of Channel Sales Alliance for India and SAARC region at VM Software. In his role, he is responsible for expanding VM's channel sales growth, distribution network, and managing cloud service provider business, along with velocity sales, SMB sales for India and SAARC. He is in charge of developing the strategy to implement VM's 100% commitment to its partner ecosystem in India and SAARC, which includes VARs, VM accredited service providers, cloud and service providers, and global system integrators. Welcome, Amarish.
Thank you.
To start with, I have one question for you. When applying a hybrid IT model, disaster recovery and business continuity are critical as well. What should be the key things to consider while putting together a BCDR strategy in place while in a hybrid IT environment? This is a long question, so I have to prepare. Over to Amarish.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hybrid IT, when you look at for any customer standpoint of view, it's a framework. It's not that they need to adopt the framework. So I'll just demystify a hybrid IT which we perceive or what we feel is. Lot of things are on premises, lot of things are there on the public cloud, and I will adopt what is best for me. When I'm saying I'm talking on the behalf of customer. I will adopt, if I have to build a test and dev, I might go to public cloud because I may not getting the hardware immediately. And hence temporarily I might go there. But at the same time, as I move to a public cloud, how do I come back whenever I get my hardware? So it's all about the framework every organization needs to adopt. And that is where data protection becomes really important. Also, if you look at the, thanks to pandemic, the proliferation of your SaaS workload has increased tremendously. And now, which means if you have a physical thing on premises, virtual thing on premises, you have public cloud which is there, and now there is something called a SaaS world also. So for SaaS world is typically, you look at Salesforce or M365, and I think the earlier presenter also talked about that SaaS world. So now these are the things where my applications are residing. How do I protect the data? Because wherever the data is, whether you are on a public cloud or whether you are on-premises, whether you are on a SaaS cloud, protection of data or data to be managed by the customer and not by anybody else. And that is where Veeam plays a most important role, that how do I have a framework, or can I have a one single point of single pane of glass to start managing the data which resides anywhere. So that's the first thing. So first is protection of data. The second one is, earlier, I'm sure all of us have done a sale that we used to look at something which is on DC, which is on premises. And then we used to go, I'm talking about 10 years back, old story. We used to go and tell a customer, you need to put your other application or your DR needs to be in a service provider colo location. I think that still continues, that today my DC is over here, or my DC can be on a public cloud. My DR needs to be on some other cloud also. So how do I orchestrate that and allow you to give a seamless experience to the customer? Which is the key problem, which is for there in front of every CIO, I think that's where the hybrid IT framework comes in very handy and allows customer to move the data across any segment as such.
So you are absolutely correct. A hybrid IT module can be an effective solution for addressing disaster recovery and business continuity in the organization. This model combines the use of both on-premise and cloud-based resources to provide a flexible and scalable infrastructure that can adapt to different types of disaster and disruptions. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're moving to the next question. Ransomware was the #1 threat in 2022. 1 out of every 4 cyber attacks has a ransomware attack. Where do business continuity plans fits in the ransomware attack?
Can I ask a question? How many you yourself or your customers have experienced ransomware in last 1 year time? And just be honest. Only one? Can't be. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, two. Slowly, steadily, people started doing. Thank you so much. I think we did a survey from an India CIO standpoint of view, and we sent it to almost 4,000 CIOs. When we did the survey, 85%, because they agreed that they had experienced at least 2 ransomware attacks in the last 1 year time. Yeah, 2 ransomware attacks. And 15% maybe agreeing or politely saying no, or they didn't even realize that there is a ransomware attack happening. So today if I go and talk to any customer, it's a boardroom level discussion for a ransomware. It's a serious threat because that's where they take your data or encrypt it, and that's where you pay ransom. Some of the customers have also agreed that they have paid the money but haven't got the data back. So I'm just bringing the seriousness of ransomware. As we continue, I think my personal view is that backup is the last line of defense when it comes to ransomware. So it's not that ransomware is there and will be there, because that's, as we embark the digitization journey, that's going to be a bigger and bigger threat for everybody. One more thing, if you look at for ransomware, there are multiple solutions. I'm not denying that. But our view is that anybody who goes and talks about the protection is all about the appliance story everybody brings in. Which means I sell once and I continue to sell and actually earn more money because of ransomware threat. But that's not what we believe. We are the disruptor over there, and we will continue to disrupt the market with a single thing, which are saying that if I make anything immutable, then I'm 100% giving you a guarantee that we will be ransomware proof. Ransomware will not come and attack us. Very bold statement, but it is the reality of life. And when I'm saying that I will make immutable, I'm not only saying that I'll make it immutable on premises. I can make it on public cloud also more immutable. So by doing that, I think customer doesn't have to pay a ransom, and customer doesn't have to pay a ransom for the appliance story, which today a lot of vendors are taking. I think the philosophy of Veeam is all about flexibility. Philosophy of Veeam is all about the software-centric approach. And if we wouldn't have been there as a software-centric approach, we wouldn't have been there today as the biggest disruptor when it comes to the backup and availability market as such.
Do you have any data that some CIOs or partners, any user of technology, they don't disclose that they don't have any ransomware account? Why they are scared to say that?
No, so you go and some of my friends are sitting over here. Just talk to them and they will tell you their own 10 customers have surely experienced ransomware. 100%.
Are you sitting in the hall? You agree with this, Amarish? Can you share your experience?
Yeah, so what Amarish is saying is absolutely right, but who will disclose it? Yeah. No CIO or CISO will take the ownership, because the ownership on their shoulder. And that's why it's a very sensitive data which nobody will express. They will get the job done, that's it.
Yeah.
No, Sun Pharma is open public.
So you must have got more information, Javeri bhai.
No, so I will tell you, during, yeah, go ahead.
4% of your annual turnover will be penalty in that. So whether it's an enterprise or a small business or a private business, everybody will have to comply with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyone want to share some key insights they want to share about the experience? Any CIO in the hall, they want to share their experience? Anyway, so Amarish, you have shared the good points. So what I could understand that business continuity plans are critical in the event of a ransomware attack.
Oh, absolutely.
as they provide a framework for responding to the attack and minimizing its impact on the organization. So moving on to the next question, as the landscape of cybersecurity is constantly evolving, how can organizations integrate their BCDR strategy with cyber resilience?
You're asking all York, you're putting all Yorkers on me.
Yeah.
Again, cyber resiliency, when you look at it, it's a connection of your ransomware. It's all security related discussion. Our view is whether you look at any framework, whether you look at, and when I say framework is typically, again, going back to the same philosophy of physical, virtual, public cloud, or even to that matter. Now the new world, which is very well opening up, is that rather than me, please don't misquote me when I'm saying that, but I'm not saying that there is a death of virtualization. But I'm also saying that lot more is moving to on a containers and Kubernetes side. So because of surely the agility which I get it while deploying the applications as such. Also the cost saving which I get it with the OS and everything. So when I start doing this, I think the whole framework needs to apply for all these 5 pillars which I talk about. Physical, virtual, cloud, containers, Kubernetes, and a SaaS cloud. So everywhere, I need to have the data protection and data availability playing a most an important role over there. That's number one. I think the second framework is that when the incident happens, I think, for example, we are not doing it just for the protection purpose. We are also worried about how do I do the recovery of that. And that is most important for any customer. How do I recover the data and in a no matters time? And literally no matters time. I can't take, when the incident happened, I can't say that my RTO or RPO is like a 1 week time. I'll take, because this data is on the tape, I will take 7 days to recover the data. That, because business needs that. Business are going to miss out. I'll give you one more example of what this means. This is a customer story. Customer called up during the peak of pandemic and said that I'm missing my business SLA. I haven't understood what that means. So I said that, can you please elaborate what that means? He said that, for example, I need to do a tape backup, put that tape into an offsite, but unfortunately, nobody could ever go to the data center itself. So I'm missing my SLA to the business. That's number one. I can't take the tape backup. The second one is that I can't put it into offsite because there's no one who can come over there. My view is that these are some of the incidences we need to be prepared. Now, I think if the cyber resiliency framework anybody has, it's all about the recovery option. It's not only about protection, it's also about the recovery. And recovery means instantaneous recovery. I think today, with due respect to others, I think Veeam differentiates big time as far as cyber resiliency and recovery option is concerned. If I give an instant recovery to any customer, I think customer is going to just love it. Which means I can make data available in a no matters time. Which means my applications, I will be in a position to bring it up in really, instead of a few hours, I can do it in few minutes. I'll give you a live example, and this is a tweet available on Veeam saying that customer has tweeted about, an Indian customer did a tweet for us, he hashtagged a lot of internal people and said that I could reduce my recovery window from few hours to few minutes. In 5 minutes, he has specifically mentioned it. Few hours to 5 minutes. That's the change which you're bringing in customers' life.
So you are right. Yes, the landscape of cybersecurity is constantly evolving, and it is important for organizations to stay up to date with the latest trends, threats, and best practices to ensure that they are adequately protected.
Well, and along with this framework, I think now whether you look at BFSI industry or whether you look at any other industry, I think there is a mandate coming that I need to do a trial or I need to do a DR in every month or every quarter or twice or thrice in a year. That's number one. Number two, am I in a position to produce a document and give it to, say, if I'm bank can I go and give it to a SEBI saying that this is what my document says that confirms that I will be in a position to recover the data in this much amount of time. I think that documentation is most important sometimes and which Indian customer lacks big time. We don't like documentation, reality of life. But if I can automate that and give that document and proofs to the SEBI or any regulatory body, I think they will love it.
That you will come to know from the cyber drilling, am I right?
Sorry?
That you will come to know from the cyber drilling.
Yeah.
So is it cyber drilling is safe?
No, not cyber drilling. What I'm trying to say is that I'm not going to charge anything extra to the customer. It's a feature which is available for you to use it. Okay. It's just a part of the solution itself. But the moment I get that documentation, the moment I do that drill, it gets documented and it says that I could achieve an RPO of this, RTO of this, application-wise, which are the applications I could perform well, which I couldn't. That is what is more important for a business, because finally, if I go to any bank and I say that your net banking is not going to work for 2 hours, then the CIO better lose their job, and he will. But that is where Veeam plays a role, that how do I bring it back in literally in 2 minutes or 5 minutes?
True, absolutely. So finally, Veeam being a leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant, what are some of new capabilities that we see in the strategic workload management and cloud in the data protection landscape?
I think I touched that topic earlier. When you look at strategic workload, it's our internal view is, we believe there are 3 kinds of strategic workload we internally look at. First is M365. Everybody has moved from Exchange. If not everybody, at least 80% has moved from traditional Exchange to M365. Or else somebody were on Lotus has moved to an M365, or they are in the process of moving it. First largest bank in India has already moved from Lotus to, and private bank I'm talking about. Everybody. If I go to Microsoft, I'll get further better details on that. I think it's a myth that M365 protection is done by an Azure or Microsoft himself. I'm so sorry, on their side, they talk about there's a joint responsibility, which means the joint responsibility is that they will make the platform available, but the data needs to be protected by the customer himself. Yeah. And then there are various plans, E1, E2, E3, and even E3 and E5. E5 just rule out because it's so costly that any organization, if you get, it's like 2%, 3% of the population only use E5. Rest of the plan, where everybody else, all of us fall in, needs a data protection. So we believe, and we see a tremendous growth over there in both ways. Reselling those licenses or renting those licenses. So which means, if I'm a partner, I can offer that as a service to the customer. Because customer doesn't want to manage everything on their own. We saw the second part go exponentially growing. It's like we are tripling our revenue every year. So Ajay is nodding that, which he himself is doing that for so many customers, right? So M365 protection, and again, we give that choice. We give a choice whether you want to back up that data and put it onto Azure itself, or where you want to put it into some other cloud. I'm getting a free credits from XYZ, I put it over there. I'm more comfortable with this cloud provider, I put it over there. Or I want to bring it back on premises because I love, there's a storage which is anyway lying empty in data center, I better do it. I do that job really well. That's number one, first strategic workload. The second workload is, we call it as a public cloud workload. And everybody agree that public cloud is a reality of life. And it's not only about that, it's a test and dev. Some of the largest applications, like even SAP, running on public cloud. So if I'm running my SAP on premises, I am ready to take a backup. And if I go to a public cloud, that doesn't mean that infrastructure will be provided that public cloud. Of course, few other services will also come, but the protection of data is still a customer's responsibility, which means the applications running on public cloud also needs a protection, which itself, and there are native tools also, I'm not denying that. There are native tools also. But I think we do that job far bigger and better because this is the only thing which we do. We do only backup. I'm not shying away from the workload called backup. This is the only thing we do, and we better do that really, really well compared to anybody else. So that's the second public cloud workload. And then third thing, we talk about the adoption of containers and Kubernetes. If you go to, and few CIs are there in the, over here, every organization talking about DevOps. Every organization. If not 20 user, they might have 5 users. And I'm saying my more interactions are with SMB also. People, because that's a business which I run it day in, day out. SMB customers are adopting public cloud, and they're also seeing, because if I'm an SMB customer, I don't have a IT landscape or a IT people of 5 or 10 or 20. I have only 2 people who manages my IT workload, which means my partner suggested me, oh, you better go to AWS, I go to AWS. Partners say that you better adopt DevOps over there, AKS, EKS, I better do that. And that's where the trust comes in, and that's where people get the agility over there. And as I move to a public cloud and adoption of containers and Kubernetes, we see a bigger opportunity over there. We are the only one who's having a separate SKU, separate product, who runs the protection for containers and Kubernetes. Rest everything is a workaround. We are the only one who is saying that we will do that job far bigger and better compared to anybody else. So that's the 2 cents on the strategic workload itself.
Amarish, you have explained very correctly. Okay, hope I've asked the right question. So anything you want to add to the session?
No, I think
Any question, we can take 2 questions. Yeah, please.
ICICI Bank has a major breach. It's exposed your passport details and all the KYC that. So if CIOs or CTOs don't do it, the media will expose them. That's the story. So the media exposed ICICI Bank's breach. And it is very scary because they've revealed passport details and everything which you have got. And secondly, the cost of breach, like Rackspace, which is the largest private hosting company in the world, they, 4 years ago, they were valued at $8 billion. They had a breach on the Exchange server, and the valuation is dropped to $1 billion. So the cost of breach for Rackspace is $7 billion.
Yeah.
So that is the comment. So if CTOs hide that, and they've been asked to hide the breaches, but the media will expose them. Or
100% with you.
Or even even the ransomware guys, they extort and say, if you don't reveal it, we'll make it public, whatever data you've got. So it's just matter of time their CTOs and CIOs honestly admit to that.
Yeah, so look at the, from $8 billion to $1 billion drop
Correct.
down on a valuation.
Correct.
Is an impact which surely a boardroom discussion. Everybody will be there in the boardroom talking about why this happened, right? And as we embark the digital initiative, it is going to be most important for everybody. Everybody. I think, let's take a simple example. All of us use smartphones. Everybody of us back up the data. I think that answers, right?
And now the opportunity is opening up. You know, people are now asking for IoT backup.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there are various things. I don't know what's in your roadmap.
So
People are, there are new devices on the edge. So
Yeah.
edge is booming now.
100% with
So
you.
there are new threat vectors, even SaaS backup for Salesforce and everything. Every data which lives anywhere, whether it's on-premise, hybrid, cloud, requires data protection.
Yesterday evening, I was with one of the largest bank CIO discussion, and for their SOC and NOC, I had no role to play. That's what I thought. But he called me and he said that why I want to have a discussion with you on a SOC and a NOC is because my config file of that, even on the framework which we have on a security side, needs a protection. The log which are getting generated, I need a protection because I need to preserve that for next 7 years' time. Yeah. So my view is that I may not be the overall, if you look at the deal from a partner standpoint of it, I may not be the topmost consuming over there, but I will be the most critical component for any cyber resilient, or even any other hybrid IT framework when you look at. Last point from my side, I think some of the, for our partners, I think we worldwide, we do almost $1.2 billion ARR, annual recurring revenue. So there is a IDC publishes, and we are there's a statistical tie between us and somebody. Yeah, number one, number two. So from nowhere in last 5 years, we are in a others category to moving to a number one slot from a market share standpoint of view also. And we are the only one who is showing a positive growth year on year, and that too in double digit. Others are struggling to keep their momentum. Somebody is degrowing. Somebody is barely growing at 1%, 2%. Because industry itself is growing at 4%. I think the point for partners is that out of that $1.2 billion, every dollar is via partner only. There is no direct order which we take it. No direct order at all. And then third most important for a partner is we don't have a professional services. Absolutely zero on professional services. I don't have a part code called professional services. Every organization you go, there's a part code called professional services. What that mean? What that mean is that there's enough pressure on me to build my channel ecosystem so well, they can deploy the project seamlessly, point number one. And also there is a equal amount of pressure on my R&D that my product needs to be so good that it will get deployed automatically, very seamlessly. Yeah. So view is that we will be the guys who will do everything via channel and not the other way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amarish, for joining the session. Thank you.
Thank you.